Trade alert, get ready to short energy as Ukraine falls to Russia. I'm expecting this to essentially work its way out in the next 4 to 8 weeks. The war and sanctions have backfired. The ruble's now at an all-time high, and Russia's economy is strengthening. Politicians are now becoming desperate to find a way out of war as inflation wrecks bond markets and stock markets globally. Russia appears to be on track to capture northern Donbass in the next 4 weeks, and this could be pivotal to the war. So prepare for falling energy and bond yields into midterms. Politicians really don't want this inflation to be elevated as we head into critical elections. On the same note, we need to be patient to enter this trade as the US is now sending in long distance howitzer weaponry that could potentially be a game changer. Either way, this war needs to conclude for financial markets to stabilize. We just took a 305% profit on Boyle, and we're going to get ready to do the exact opposite trade in the near term. I've held off on the trade alert today, watching Boyle go to a new high today, trading at 130, which is absolutely asinine and ridiculous. Energy costs in Europe are through the roof. This war will become more unpopular every day that passes by. Top selling advisories now up 31% year to date for 2022 after returning 233% total return in 2021. How to get rich in 2022. As you can note, I've pulled Boyle off the portfolio. We have a massive, approximately 40% position in cash after we dumped Boyle at $114. We saw it go down to 80. I wish I'd pulled the trigger. It screamed back up to 130. It could go higher, but the risk to reward ratio is no longer in our favor. So we're going to be patient and time a short position in Boyle, and then we will reallocate into either treasuries or tech stocks after we see that crash in energy. So right now, with every $10,000 invested, we're only putting about half of it to work, and that's currently $1,000 into UVXY with 66 shares, $2,000 or 140 shares into TMF treasuries, and then $2,095 into Ethereum, ETHE, the Grayscale Trust. Now, if you've been holding this position for a while, we have seen Ethereum go a bit lower. We've seen our treasuries go up slightly, and UVXY has been bobbling around. So if you're new, you're putting half your money to work. If you are already invested, you should have about 40% of your capital in cash from the sale of Boyle. And we've been patiently waiting a good opportunity to put that money to work. So once again, step one, buy 66 shares of UVXY. And again, this is per 10,000 bucks. There's risk of further downside. If this energy crisis and food crisis is not resolved, and central banks want to continue tightening monetary policy, we could very likely end up with more pain in markets. And so this chart shows you every time interest rates go to these levels in this band, problems can be nearing, which would mean a stock market crash much greater than what we've experienced so far this year. Now, it's not my base case, as I do think we're about to get these energy costs down into midterms. In March of 2020, UVXI went screaming higher, up 1,100%. Now, because of the extreme volatility this year, you may have noticed UVXY hasn't been getting such a great bid. And that's because it's going to take some extreme limit down days to really make the VIX complex bid. It also looks like there's a lot of shorting on this. So it's getting coiled up. If there's a big crash due to energy and potentially more risk in bonds, UVXY is the only asset that's going to save our ass. So we're not leaving UVXY until we see energy costs falling. And at that point, we could dramatically reduce that. Here's a look at UVXY this year, trading between 12 and 22, up and down, as the markets have been very volatile. The end game is treasury yields go lower. But if the inflation's not tamed, the short term is that there could be more pain in bonds. So I've held back in going all out in bonds. Long term, I see this as our single safest bet. In the short term, I do see a risk of more sanctions and higher energy costs, which could be negative for the bond market. Also, they're planning to start selling bonds into the open market with quantitative tightening. That begins next week. So we have a good position in treasuries. We're waiting to get super aggressive, buy 140 shares of TMF. Here's a look at that chart. And you can see it's just been collapsing in the leveraged long end of the bond market. Here's another look at that without the leverage with the TLT. Um, and again, if the energy costs don't come down, there's still risk ahead in the TLT. If they come down, everything else is crashing. Retail's crashing, housing's crashing. China's imports, exports have been reduced dramatically. We've seen Walmart, Snapchat, Target crashing. Um, so the setup is there for yields to fall and for bond market to rally. But the big wild card is once again these energy costs. Now, the Fed has come up with its minutes, and it's what everybody was expecting, 50 basis point rate hikes for the next 3 meetings. And the bond market was perfectly fine with that because it's already priced this in. Here's a look at the Fed's track record of being able to get the cost of commodities to fall. And so the 2 blue lines represent tightening by the Fed, where the black line represents the energy basket. And without fail, eventually they do get energy costs down by tightening policy. So I think that's the big trade, is betting yields go down and energy costs go down for the next 12 months. But there's some things that can get in the way of that. First of all, China reopening would be a problematic issue. And then again, more sanctions on Russia could further escalate this. Another look at these treasuries. This move has been unheard of, a 3 sigma move. Never has happened before in history. So once again, this is where we're seeing the big money is betting on a sharp reversal. It's going to be led by energy falling. And what we can expect is treasuries gaining value, cryptocurrencies gaining value, technology stocks gaining value, and energy falling. So that's the big play. We've been playing the exact opposite of that over the last 2 years. Now we're betting on that reversal. This is the biggest bond crash in history. And we can see it's not only the longest in terms of number of days, but also the percent decline. So betting on the reversal is going to be a very smart play. We're now looking at inventories to sales, creating this bullwhip effect. The demand caused everybody to go buy as much stuff as possible. And now all of a sudden the demand's slowing down. Everyone from strip clubs to Target to Walmart to the phone industry, every single indicator of the consumer is dramatically slowing down. We had a very vicious drop in housing. So this is my highest conviction trade. But again, the sanctions and the war are going to be the timing part of this that makes this the most difficult. Here's a look at PMIs in different countries. We can see the outlier is really the US, but China, Germany, Taiwan, and Japan all crashing. Typically, the US follows the Chinese PMI, just delayed by about 6 months. And you can see that in this chart right here. So if we do look at the latest CPI data, everything is cooling off dramatically, once again, except for energy costs. And that is all due to these sanctions. Okay, so that's really the big play. Step 3, pick up 165 shares of ETHE. We now have Ray Dalio and JP Morgan saying their favorite alternative asset is Bitcoin. So way to go. We get the big boys are all jumping into this asset class now. And this is trading at an extreme discount. Okay, so ETHE is greatly underperforming Ethereum. It's trading over a 30% discount on the value in this asset. And we see this screaming to new highs as the Fed is going to start backtracking this hawkish rhetoric as the economy is at risk of a severe recession if they over tighten. So I think that's really going to be the story as we lead into midterms. Here's a look at Ethereum, similar chart. But again, if you bought and held through all the volatility since 2017, you're up 13,798%. This is a chart of this shorting happening in the futures market for Bitcoin. And this is getting ready for a massive short squeeze. So I'm actually expecting The second energy costs to go down, you're going to see the NASDAQ and cryptocurrency skyrocket to the upside. Here's a look at the shorting happening in the NASDAQ. Okay, it works until it doesn't. Okay, we're already seeing the bond market start to go up in value and yields fall. And everybody's going to eventually have to pull the profits on these short positions. If they all try to do it at once, we're going to see a massive short squeeze. This is another look at the NASDAQ versus the S&P 500, which is also marked bottoms in the NASDAQ. So I think we're very near the bottom of this market volatility and want to get very aggressive with what we've been teaching you guys over the last month. Not many down years in Bitcoin, and you can see the upside is remarkable. This chart, we remind you, don't look at the highs, look at the yearly lows. Over the last 12 years, we've only had 1 year where there was a new low. That was 2015, when China's real estate market was collapsing. They reacted by printing trillions of dollars, and you got one of the best bull markets in Bitcoin in history. And once again, they're doing the exact same thing right now. This is the 6-week and 7-week, now 8-week pullback in Bitcoin. It almost never happens. So really all the metrics are buy the dip right now. Volume spike in Bitcoin has also coincided to upside ahead. We've got Japan now printing like crazy to protect their bond market. We can see the devaluation in the yen. China is now printing to save its real estate sector in the trillions of dollars, and we can see its currency devaluing. The dollar will fall as the Fed softens its hike expectations, which will happen when energy inflation falls. Okay, and we can see DXY is at a very high level at 103, most likely to turn over and fall as yields fall and energy costs fall. So step 4 is wait for the alert. I'm trying to get a good gauge of when the war is going to wrap itself up here, at least take a pause. And that's when we're going to most likely see an epic decline in natural gas prices, which hit $9 and normally are $2. And this is just causing the Europeans to have outrageous electric bills. And again, this is why we're at war. NATO got greedy and has been coming right up to the border of Russia. So I believe we're going to see Ukraine give up some territory and take a pause in this war as we head into midterms. Here's a look at oil hitting 131 today. And just look at those sharp sell-offs. That's what we're going to try to capture for our next big trade alert before rotating into either NRGU or TMF with the proceeds of that sale. Energy in oil potentially is going to be a little more sticky, maybe more like that 2010 to 2013. So I think we make a lot more money shorting oil than we would with oil. Okay, now the second the conflict does end and we've taken a big profit of shorting oil, I want to go along NRGU. This has 12 beautiful tech giants. There's massive short positions. They're going to get short squeezed. And that's where I see us making another triple-digit return right after we take profits on shorting oil. Now, don't worry, you're not going to have to actually short oil or buy put options. There's a ticker for that, which I'll reveal once we're getting ready to pull the trigger. Now, the last time the U.S. tightened while U.S. expanded credit due to a housing crisis, 2015, same setup, Bitcoin returned 4,400%. So we've been holding on to crypto with a lot of pain, and I think that pain is very near over. So I want you to watch the webinar every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and be ready for sell alerts. I'll be live again Friday. I've been dealing with severe allergies due to this massive fire in the US. So I'm actually going to end today's webinar early today. But I wanted to update you on what's happening, what my expectations are, and get you ready for the next big trade. It's most likely going to return 200 to 300%. And I'm just being a little patient to pull the trigger on that new trade. So if you don't want to miss our next trade alert, I recommend you call Dean at 505-322-7515 and talk about getting your portfolio ready for these big changes that are going to happen in markets in the coming weeks ahead. So call Dean now at 505-322-7515. At this point, I'll take questions, and because I am unfortunately losing my voice already, I'm going to go ahead and end this one a little bit earlier than normal. So let's see what everybody has to say. Tom Sharp says, great to hear you're surviving the allergies. Tom, did you like the Q&A section I added to the Rebel update? I'm sure the answer made you happy. He was asking what happens if the Rebel dividend share price goes up, and he was worried it would make the dividend go lower. And actually, it's going to make the dividend go up. So in bear markets, we're going to shrink the dividend and be protective and get ready to buy these assets at very discounted prices. In a bull market, we're going to have better profits in yield farming, and we're going to have better profits in our price appreciation. So in bull markets, you guys are going to get filthy sized dividends. In bear markets, we're going to get protective and slow things down. And I think we're getting very close to that time. So hopefully this summer is going to be a really good time period for that. And let's bring Dean on. I saw Dean's got his hand.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Dean, how's it going, buddy?
Good, good. Yeah, I just I figured I would ride along with you here just in case you lost your voice early. So.
Okay, Ed says due to inflation, strippers are now requiring. Yeah, I've been actually reaching out. Don't judge, but I know some strippers, and I've asked them if it's slowing down. It sure is. I know a girl who works at T-Mobile. It's become dead. We saw Target's Walmart crash. Snapchat dropped 40% intraday. So
Walmart was empty today in West Palm Beach too.
Now the rich are still
never
spending. Middle class is slowing down big time, and that's just the reality right now. It's okay. Harry says, take your time for the next. Yeah, people realize a little patience goes a long way. Okay, Ron says, when we sold Boyle, should we have held those funds in cash? Yeah, those should be in cash, absolutely. I've been waiting to pull the trigger on something. And so I like treasuries. And if the war ends, I like NRGU. And that's about it right now. And of course, I like crypto as a just aggressive tech play. So yeah, it looks like I think we got 4 to 8 weeks before it's realistic for something positive to come out of the war. And I'm going to expand the Rebel dividends into a basket of the top software applications that have been designed on Ethereum. So Aave, Uniswap, and about 5 others are looking extremely attractive. They're down 70 to 80%. And if we're timing this right, it could be just really, really nice time to go long a very good basket. So think of Ethereum as Windows or Microsoft. It's the operating system. And then we want to buy up the software applications that have the best user growth that we truly believe in. So Aave, for example, is a software application we use for Rebel dividends, and we know it works great. Uniswap just cleared $1 trillion in total volume. So very exciting things happening right now. Mary says, if you anticipate the market will crash, would you get? Yeah, if I think we have a big crash, yeah, we'll exit everything except the VIX and treasury. Well, it depends on what's going to crash the market. Murray says he's pissed off about his Asian and European positions that have been getting decimated. Yes, I believe exactly that those will be, specifically EDC will most likely greatly outperform the US emerging markets. Okay, Lee wants commentary on Luna and UST. Yeah, I had a friend here who I actually would pay for consulting. It was a lot of people were way too clever and they went all in on Luna and got completely wiped out. $40 billion was wiped out. And basically they had a stable coin that was backed by Bitcoin, and someone was able to secretly do 2 things at once. They built a massive short position on Luna while providing, I think, about $1 billion to the stable coin. And then they redeemed the stable coin, which forced. So what happens is Luna took the $1 billion in exchange for UST coin, and they bought Bitcoin with it. And then the guy who gave them that $1 billion said, okay, now I want to redeem it, while he had a short position on Luna. So Luna had to sell its Bitcoin to redeem the stable coin, and it made the Luna coin crash, and it became a self-fulfilling just disaster. $40 billion wiped out. Marissa wants to know the benefits. So Rebel Dividends is going to give you leverage, and it's going to have an expert managing the portfolio for you full time. That's me. So yeah, I'm not just buying with cash. We're actually going to Aave and taking out a loan and creating leverage. So it's a very, very aggressive cryptocurrency position with a weekly dividend. Mike says the war does not seem to be over soon. Well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have 6 billion people revolting against the government. People thought this was cute with the little Ukrainian flags and making Zelensky look like a hero for a month or 2 or 3. But now they can't feed themselves, and their energy costs are 4 or 5 times higher. So people are going to say, what the hell is this all about? So I believe the political pressure is going to get extremely strong to end this very, very soon. Also, it does look like Donbass is going to fall here pretty soon. Now, Zelensky's saying, we're not going to give up an inch and we're going to fight to the end and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's why I'm saying we should be patient. We're also sending some much heavier military equipment. That's the howitzer is apparently something like 1.5 times the distance in range to what Russia has. You know what? So someone's saying, does Terra crash hurt cryptos? No, you know what? I'm surprised. So it's amazing. It is amazing. Bitcoin is sitting here at 30K after all this shitstorm. So I'm very impressed we're not lower. I would still be bullish on Bitcoin if we were at 15 to 20. And with the bond market crash, I'm honestly surprised we're not there. So I'm very impressed. And this makes me more bullish.
Yeah, and honestly, Jason, I think it helps clean up the space a lot too. There's a lot of garbage in crypto, but there's the best technology on the planet in it too. So that's why it's good to have someone like Jason help you navigate those waters.
And that's why we're fortunate to just focus on the most developed operating system with the most developed software applications, which is, again, the easiest way to think of this is think of Ethereum as Windows, and then think of like Uniswap and Aave as the software that's been developed on that operating system. And so we're just focusing on products that have user growth and have grown in size consistently for the longest period of time. So they have all sorts of advantages from that perspective. I'm not saying some of these other. I still listen to the Cardano founder. I think he's brilliant, but the network effect for Ethereum is just massive and very hard to outperform in the long run. So unless their product was dramatically better, which it's not. Murray says the volatility in the Rebel share price has been hard. Yes, it has. Yep. But we've got a leveraged cryptocurrency position. So I think you'll be very happy once we see these assets go back up. And some people are completely wiped out. So fortunately, we have the right assets in the long term. So the one that's caused us the most drawdown is actually the project I'm the most bullish on, which is Polygon. It has $500 million raised, 500 programmers, and it's integrating into dozens of different software companies every month. So yeah, it's not a project that's going to implode to zero. It's a very large company with massive team of software engineers creating real technology right now. And I want to point out, Rebel has $1 million in cash to double down at the right time. So we can go very aggressive once, again, I see the energy costs fall, bond yields fall. and we've got $1 million at Rebel Dividends to put to work. So we're at no risk of the corporation having any sort of severe issue. You know, we're set to get very aggressive at the right time. Now, don't forget, Amazon went down 98% in the .com crash, and if you held it through the 98% crash, you're rich as hell. So yes, and I've had to hold Bitcoin through many volatile periods to do very well over time. Yeah, a lot of people don't know Amazon, and they actually had, so get this, they had growing revenues through the .com crash while their stock went down 98%. Rock says, will there be a benefit once Puerto Rico comes on board? Yeah, so luckily right now I can sell the Ethereum we bought initially for a loss to offset those taxes. So we're not delayed with having a higher dividend rate. Once we see the share price going above that $1.24, we'll no longer have that benefit, and we're going to need that Puerto Rico tax benefit. So that is all in the lawyer's hands and should be getting applied for soon. And probably by the time we're approved, fingers crossed, we'll be breaking into new highs on the share price. Great questions today. Nice to have a big crowd. Let's do a shout out while I still got a little voice. This is only members. We're not doing any free trials through the summer, so a lot more intimate. Ashok, Amin, Arcielio, Armand, Barry, Bill, Brian, Clint, Dennis, Don, Elliot, Ed, Fernando, Gary Barber, Gary Feldman, George Plumas, Harry Mullins, Hyacinth, Jan, Jenny, Joe, Julia, Julio, Nell, Lee, Love and Peace, Marcus, Marissa, Marissa 2, Marty, Mary, Michael, we've got a Michael Johnson, Michael Jones, Mike Cummings, Mike Montoy. Excuse me if I mess up anyone's name. Mike, Morris, Murray, Orlando, Paul, Rick, Ron, Robert, Rock, Ron, Chippy, Ron, Rose, Sass, Scott, Steven, Sung, Tom Sharp, Johan. So thank you guys all for joining live. Now for those of you guys in Rebel, it was really nice having Tom kind of stick it at me with a good question there. What's going to happen to dividends as share price goes up? So I really like that Q&A section I've built into to Monday's update. So send those questions to support at Rebel Dividends if you're one of those investors, and I'll make sure to cover your question as long as I think it's pertinent. So some people, some pretty, you know, if it's not something I'm an expert at, I may not answer. If it's like some sort of new cryptocurrency or something of that nature, I'm primarily only going to be focused on the growth of Ethereum and the growth of the most successful software applications for Ethereum. And unless I think Cardano, Solana, or AVAX, and previously Luna could really compete for it, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. At this point, Solana has had to reboot itself. It's a joke. I like Cardano, but it's super slow to get anything done. Not worried about it as a competitor. AVAX potentially is interesting, but I'm not expert at that. And then Luna just blew itself up. So okay, Amin says, can you expand? Yes, so we spent this whole PowerPoint slide talking about that. I mean, essentially, TMF is going to go up if the global economy slows down. And the opposite would be true if the global economy is going to heat up. So if it's going to heat up, we want to be long BOIL, NRGU, essentially. And if it's going to cool down, we want to be long bonds and technology stocks, which we would put cryptocurrencies in. So the economy was really heating up when we printed trillions of dollars after the lockdowns in 2020, and then we followed up with it again in 2021. But now they're not, but then the inflation got so hot, now we're doing the exact opposite. Now politicians can't pass any spending So the economy is slowing down. So we're seeing the only metric that's not cooling off right now is the cost of energy, and that's due to supply side disruption. Yes, sir. So KOLD is the ticker to short natural gas. It's the inverse of boil. KOLD, if you want to make sure you have access to that. And that's assuming I can catch it. It's just a scary trade because we know uh, Putin could cut off natural gas to Europe and send that price sky high. But yeah, here's kind of the play I see is we short boil and then we go long FNG. I think that's going to be the 1-2 combo. And we're not going to get FNG at the very bottom because if energy costs are going down, most likely FNG is going to be going up again. But I think the very fast hit, I think energy price will reprice in a matter of days or weeks. And it could take months, many months for tech to reprice. So massive potential profit, timing the correct shorting of natural gas. Now, the other side is if this war does go all the way to winter, then we're gonna have real problems with natural gas. So we'll be careful. We're gonna be careful with that trade. But having a big fat cash position right now is really smart. All right, guys. So we'll be back on Friday. I do not anticipate us pulling the trigger tomorrow unless, if natural gas goes to $10 tomorrow, maybe we'll start to tiptoe into it. We can also slowly build into that position. So let's see how this plays out here with Donbass. And then we'll get ready to start shorting energy and going long tech. FNGU at $7 is very attractive. So we're just going to be a little more patient and we'll finally get you a trade alert. So thank you guys so much. Call Dean if you need to upgrade or get into Rebel at 505-322-7515. Thank you for joining live and we'll see you back on Friday.